I'm curious, like, how you came to intuitive leadership as your calling. Like, did you try other things along the way, or, did this just hit you with a lightning bolt and, oh, I need to teach people how to use their intuition? What was your journey?
Uh, so this is gonna for most people listening, they're gonna go, "This sounds really nonlinear," and
Mhm.
it is because I'm intuitively led in just about every area of life, and so this is very nonlinear. So it's going to sound that way, and I say that. So then people are like, "This is a very strange story." Yes, yes, it is. This is a strange story. So originally, when I started my business, I was a psychic and I did psychic readings and I would meet people at coffee shops. And then this opportunity came to be in the paper locally where I live in Denver, Colorado. And it blew my business, like it blew me up popularity wise. Like I all of a sudden was on television and I was on radio and a whole bunch of online things. This was back in 2008. And that's where some of those Broadway stars, NFL coaches, that kind of thing came into it in that very beginning. That's how I met them. And
Mhm.
then I did thousands of readings. And then in 2012, I was in a business course that got led to me from someone else. This is kind of how that went. And in the course, the guy said to me, the leader said, "Are you interested in becoming like a world famous psychic?" And I was like, "No, definitely not. That is not of interest to me." He said, "Well, if you want to move out of that, that is the pathway you're on. And if you don't want to do that, then you're going to have to figure out a way to quantify intuition," which just
Mm.
to me, growing up the way I did, my experience at 18, learning about intuition, which was 30 years ago now, but like all of that led me to relate to intuition as just very practical, which is very, very different than how most people in my industry talk about intuition. I mean, I think you and I have met, I think it was like a year ago, maybe, not
Mhm.
quite a year, but we even talked about kind of for me, I relate to it like a soft skill like communication. And so when I went from doing psychic readings to quantifying intuition, what I noticed is I'd be doing readings with people and I would say something to them like in the session. I would say something like, "Well, I mean, I think maybe you kind of weren't paying attention that it was a really terrible idea." And people would say something like, "Ugh, I knew. Hindsight is 2020." And
Right.
like if I had gotten paid like a dollar for every time I heard that, I'd have a boatload of money. I'd be like on a yacht somewhere in the middle of the ocean. Like I heard that a lot. And it sort of inside of me had me realize that not everyone had the benefit of the training I did and the dedication to like dive in and learn it and become good enough at it that you trusted it like
Yeah.
fully and completely. And so that was kind of like in 2014, I was at this thing called the Success Summit. A friend of mine had put together the biggest names you could imagine. So, like John Mackey, Michael Franti, Alanis Morissette, John Gray, the biggest names for like a multi speaker weekend course. And I met all these people, and it sparked something in my awareness that all of these people were honoring the calling that they had, whatever you want to call it. For me,
Mhm.
it was just this passion that people feel at home in themselves and trust themselves and don't make mistakes that are easily avoidable. And that was the big shift. From there, I met some leaders and they hired me. And then it became very, very obvious. Then I started working with primarily mostly business owners and leaders. So that's kind of how I ended up doing what I'm doing now. And in full transparency, I'm going through a rebranding because I'm honing in even more. And this is like all entrepreneurs, whether you're new or not. This is welcome to being an
Yeah,
entrepreneur.
welcome to entrepreneurship. If you're not constantly evolving and changing, then, you must not be truly serious about being an entrepreneur because it's not a static position.
It really isn't. It really isn't. And as a person, I'm dedicated to growth. So it's not surprising that I would do the same in my business. So that's how I ended up specifically doing strategic, intuitive leadership work was recognizing that, and this is my real passion, is like these visionary female leaders and, executives that I work with, I support them. They trust their intuition and their impact grows. So they then fulfill their vision. And some of these women I work with, their vision is, black and brown women having access to funding. For some of them, it's, a place where women feel safe. where they can, be at home in their own leadership. For some of them, it's, people really being able to be successful in getting the word out about what they're doing in the world. One of our mutual colleagues, really good friend of mine, hers is about making imposter syndrome your superpower.
Mhm.
Like working with women like her, now that she's freed up to trust her intuition, it allows for her to get her real work out in the world. And that is how I ended up right where I'm at right now. So, like I said, it was a circuitous path, but this is where I landed.
Yeah.